Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church in Columbia, South Carolina, where we're part of the ELCA. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. The first summer job I had was helping the Department of Health and Environmental Control convert their paper files to microfilm. Yes, I'm so old that microfilm was the up-and-coming thing. In actuality, what that meant was that it was my job to pull the staples on the paper files all summer long. By the end of the summer, I was an expert with a staple remover. I'm telling you all this to say that during my first week, it happened to be my supervisor's birthday. My father had about 90 rose bushes in the yard. Yes, he not only had a vegetable garden, but he also loved to grow roses. At breakfast, I casually mentioned that it was my supervisor's birthday, and before I knew it, he sent me in with a vase of about 15 to 18 roses he cut from the yard. It didn't mean much to me. We had roses all the time. They were just out there growing in the yard. I don't remember her name anymore, but I remember her reaction. The woman was overwhelmed. She took pictures of the flowers and showed them to everyone. It's amazing the difference a simple flower growing on a stalk can make for some people. This week in our time together, we are still thinking about Easter, and my goal this week is to use signs of spring and to show how they point to Easter. As I said yesterday, spring is God's annual sermon on resurrection. What is dead bursts into new life. Today, our focus is on blossoms and branches. I always love that time in spring when you begin to see tiny buds on trees and bushes. You've got this dead-looking branch, but suddenly there is a tiny, tiny sprig of green, and over the next few days it grows and grows into a leaf. Or perhaps that little sprig becomes a blossom, which later becomes a fruit. That sprig is a promise of deliciousness to come, of hope that will be fulfilled. Jesus used that very image to describe the Christian life. In fact, on the very night before his death in John's Gospel, he spends a good bit of time with this metaphor. I am the vine, you are the branches, he said. Those who abide in me and I in them will bear much fruit. But here's the thing. As Jesus talks about this, it becomes clear it's not really about the fruit. It's about the abiding. The fruit is the result, the gravy, the unexpected blessing that makes a difference in our world. The means to bring it about. The point of the relationship is the abiding, the connection to God. Let's talk about this some more. Jesus gives a beautiful picture, but it's also a surprising one. Jesus is about to face betrayal, arrest, and crucifixion, and the disciples are about to scatter in fear. This is not a moment that feels fruitful, and instead it feels barren. It feels like everything is falling apart. And yet, Jesus says, stay with me. Stay connected. Stay rooted. He doesn't tell them to be strong or productive. He doesn't tell them to impress him with their faithfulness. He tells them to abide. Abiding is not glamorous or dramatic. Abiding doesn't make the headlines or the ticker at the bottom of the TV screen. Abiding is quiet, steady, faithful connection. It's the branch simply staying attached to the vine. That's the powerful part of what Jesus said. He is the vine and we are the branches. The vine is connected to the root, to the source of nourishment and life. The branches are connected to the vine, but can't do anything by themselves. If they were not connected to the vine, they are nothing but sticks. But if those branches are connected to the vine, if we are connected to Jesus, then life flows into and through us. The verb Jesus actually uses is the Greek word meno, which means abide, remain, or stay. We aren't called to strive or to achieve or to perform. We are called to remain. We are called to remain connected to Jesus, to dwell there, to stay with him in who we are, in where our hearts are. We don't produce fruit on our own. We are called to abide. And the Holy Spirit, through that abiding, produces fruit for God. Love, compassion, service, these things grow because Christ lives in us. In my yard, I have some encore azaleas. I like azaleas, and the best part about encore azaleas is that they bloom throughout the spring, summer, and fall. The only problem is that I don't know when to prune them. I don't know when to cut them back. If you do it at the wrong time, you cut off the blossoms growing that you can't yet see. If you don't do it at the right time, the plant gets out of control and can even hinder itself. Jesus speaks of pruning too, but his point is that God cares for us and shapes us so that we become what we should be. And God is our gardener, and our hope is to abide in him. In ancient Israel, as they moved about in those earliest days, the Ark of the Covenant was sheltered in a tent they could move with them. This tent was called the tabernacle, which is a word that literally means place of dwelling. It reminded all the people that God was dwelling with them. God was right there with them, always with them, never far. God tabernacled with them. God made his home with them. God abided in their midst with them. May we, God's lifeless, rough, gnarled branches, stay connected to the vine. May Christ's life flow into and through us. May God dwell in us, and may we abide with God forever. Thanks for sharing these moments with me, and remember to let this day belong to God.